Harper Evans grabbed the man's wrist the second the elevator doors opened. "Finally!" she shouted over the music exploding from the penthouse. "The stripper is here." The man barely had time to blink. She yanked him through the doorway with surprising strength for someone wearing glitter heels and holding a half-finished margarita. The moment he crossed the threshold, 30 drunk women screamed like they were at a rock show. Harper had no idea she had just pulled the owner of the hotel, and a Mafia boss, into the party. The bride, Madison, wearing a sash that said, "Kiss the Bride," jumped on the couch. Someone tossed confetti straight into the ceiling fan, which blew it back down like cheap snow. A speaker blasted a remix of Pony. The air smelled like tequila, hairspray, and the cinnamon body mist someone had bathed in. Harper didn't even look at the man's face. She only registered broad shoulders, a white button-down shirt rolled at the sleeves, dark dress pants, and the most confused expression she had ever seen. Perfect. Authentic confusion meant he was good at his job. "Come on," she insisted, pulling him deeper inside. "You're late. We almost requested a refund." He didn't resist, but his body was tense like he wasn't used to anyone touching him without permission. His eyes swept the chaotic room as if he was scanning threats, not Bachelorette decorations. Harper didn't notice. She was focused on Madison. "Your entertainment has arrived," she declared proudly. The women cheered. A few grabbed dollar bills. One tried to place a pink cowboy hat on the man's head. He stepped back in shock. Harper grabbed his hand again. "No escaping. Sit." He didn't move. So she pushed his shoulder until he landed in the large armchair they'd positioned in the center of the room for the show. The girls screamed again, phones ready to record. Harper climbed onto his lap because the bride demanded it. She expected him to play along, maybe flirt, maybe smile. Instead, he stared at her like she was the strangest creature he'd ever seen. Up close, Harper noticed details. His jaw was sharp, his mouth serious, his eyes a deep, unreadable brown with a ring of gold near the center. He looked nothing like the last stripper they'd hired for a birthday party. That guy had worn tear-away pants. This man looked like he'd arrived straight from a board meeting. "You don't look very excited," Harper teased, placing a hand on his chest. "This is a paid performance. Enthusiasm is important." His chest rose in a slow, controlled breath. "I think there's been a mistake," he said, voice deep and steady. Harper laughed. "They all say that when they walk in." The bride shouted, "Take the shirt off!" The man didn't react. Harper shrugged. "Fine, I'll help." She reached for his top button and undid it. His eyes narrowed slightly, but he let her continue. The room erupted again as she slid the shirt open, exposing a strong, defined chest that did not belong to any man who stripped for side cash. His muscles looked real. His control looked real. His stare was so intense Harper almost forgot what she was doing. Almost. She pushed his shirt off his shoulders. He didn't stop her. He didn't move except to watch her face. She had never seen a man look at her like that. Not playful, not shy, not annoyed. Focused, studying, taking in every breath she took. Her stomach flipped for a reason that had nothing to do with tequila. The women leaned in closer. Harper tried to lighten the mood. "Okay, sir. Usually you'd say something flirty by now." His voice stayed even. "I am not the man you think I am." Before Harper could reply, the door burst open with a bang. "Boss!" A man in a black suit froze in place. His eyes dropped to the half-naked man in the chair, Harper sitting on his lap, the screaming women, the glitter-covered carpet, and the pink cowboy hat someone had tried to force onto his boss's head. Silence hit the room like someone had unplugged the world. Harper blinked at the suited man. "Boss?" The man in the chair sighed. A slow, controlled exhale that somehow sounded dangerous. The suited man cleared his throat nervously. "Mr. Conti, security is waiting downstairs. There is a situation in the casino. They need your decision." "Mr. Conti." Harper's throat closed. Every tourist in Las Vegas knew that name. Lorenzo Conti, billionaire hotel owner, private casinos, political influence, and the kind of reputation whispered in bars late at night. Rumored ties to organized crime. Rumored to be untouchable. Harper was sitting on his lap. She launched herself off him so fast she stumbled back into the coffee table. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I swear we didn't know. I thought you were... we ordered... Not that we ordered you. Oh my God, please stop me from talking." The women scrambled behind furniture like he had the legal right to arrest them, execute them, or both. Madison hid behind the sofa cushion like it was a shield. Lorenzo Conti stood, picking up his shirt but not putting it on. He draped it casually over his shoulder, chest still exposed, every line of muscle visible under the soft penthouse lighting. He didn't look angry. He looked curious. He took one slow step toward Harper. "What exactly did you think I was?" he asked. Harper wanted the building to collapse on her. Entertainment professional." Lorenzo's eyebrow lifted, his voice lowered. "You thought your friend hired me to strip in my own hotel?" A few women snorted into their hands. Harper could not feel her soul anymore. It had left her body. The suited man, Nick, cleared his throat again. "Sir, we really need to go. If the other family is involved..." Harper froze. Family. Rival family. She had watched enough true crime documentaries to know what that meant. Lorenzo didn't react to Nick's warning. He kept his eyes on Harper, studying her like she was the most interesting thing he had seen in years. "Your name?" he asked. Harper swallowed. "Harper. Harper Evans." He repeated it softly, like he wanted to test the weight of it. Harper Evans. Hearing her own name from his mouth gave her a shiver she couldn't explain. He finally turned toward the door, picking up his phone. Nick walked ahead, speaking urgently into his earpiece. Lorenzo followed, but paused in the doorway. He looked back at Harper again, not angry, not offended, not amused anymore, interested, focused, determined. Harper held her breath. Then he left. The second the door closed, the room exploded. Madison threw the pillow at Harper. "You sat on Lorenzo Conti. I didn't know it was Lorenzo Conti. You undressed him. I thought it was his job." Another friend screamed. "You touched a Mafia boss." Harper collapsed onto the couch and covered her entire face with both hands. "I'm going to prison. Or witness protection. Or the bottom of Lake Mead." But under the humiliation, under the panic, she felt something else she couldn't name. A strange awareness in her chest. A spark that had nothing to do with fear. Much later, when all the women were asleep, Harper walked to the window and stared at the Las Vegas lights. She rubbed her forehead, trying to forget the entire night. Maybe Lorenzo Conti would be too busy to think about her again. But on the 62nd floor, Lorenzo sat in a private office, watching the penthouse security footage on a large monitor. He watched the moment Harper grabbed his wrist, the moment she smiled at him, the moment she opened his shirt like she owned the night. Nick stood beside him, uneasy. "Boss, why are you watching this again?" Lorenzo didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "Find everything about her." Nick blinked. "Everything? She's just a tourist." Lorenzo leaned back in his chair, eyes still on Harper's face frozen on the screen. "She touched me like I was no one," he said quietly. "I want to know who she is." Nick hesitated. "You think she's connected to the problem downstairs?" "I don't know," Lorenzo said. "But something about her is not random." He zoomed in on her face, her surprised laugh, her bright eyes, her hands on him. Nick shifted. "You want her background?" "Everything," Lorenzo repeated. "Name, work, family. Where she lives, who she loves, who she fears. Everything." The screen paused on Harper smiling at him. He stared at it like a man seeing a target, or something far more complicated. Harper Evans woke up with a dry mouth, a pounding headache, and a memory so humiliating she wanted to fake her own death. For a few seconds she stared at the unfamiliar ceiling of the penthouse suite, listening to the soft snores of friends scattered across the floor. A few empty bottles rolled near the minibar. Someone had fallen asleep hugging a shoe. Then everything hit her at once. She had sat on the lap of a Mafia boss. She had undressed him. She had ordered him to smile. "Oh no," Harper whispered, covering her face with her hands. Madison stirred on the couch. Harp, you alive? Unfortunately. Madison laughed, rubbing her eyes. Girl, I still can't believe you climbed him like that. Harper threw a pillow at her. I thought he was a stripper. You thought the owner of a multi-billion-dollar hotel empire was the stripper. Madison, I was trying to have fun for once in my life. Madison sat up, hair sticking out like a cactus. Honestly, he didn't look mad. He looked entertained. Stop, please. Harper buried her face deeper into the pillow. I've embarrassed myself enough. But a soft knock at the door shut both of them up. Harper's stomach flipped. If that's Lorenzo Conti, I'm jumping out the window. Madison tiptoed to the door and peeked through the hole. Her eyes widened. It's hotel security. Harper's blood ran cold. No. Madison opened the door a few inches. A polite, well-dressed staff member stood there with a tablet in his hands. Good morning. I have a message for Ms. Harper Evans. Harper froze on the couch. Why? The message is from Mr. Conti. He would like to speak with you privately. Madison slapped Harper's arm repeatedly. You're in trouble. Harper wished the floor would swallow her. Can I say no? The staff member smiled politely. Mr. Conti insisted. He said it's not optional. Oh, great, Harper muttered. Mafia boss summons me before breakfast. Exactly what I needed. She changed quickly, trying to look presentable and not like someone who had danced with a shirtless crime lord the night before. When she left the suite, 2 security guards walked ahead of her. Another followed behind. Is this necessary? Harper asked. For now, yes, one guard answered. For now? What does that mean? You'll see. That answer was the opposite of reassuring. They brought her to a private elevator that required a key card. They scanned it, and the doors closed instantly, taking them down several floors until the doors opened into a silent hallway lined with dark wood and soft lights. It didn't look like part of the hotel open to guests. A man in a gray suit waited near a large door. He gave Harper a brief nod and opened it. Ms. Evans, please. She stepped inside. Lorenzo Conti stood by a wide window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the strip far below. He wore a dark shirt, sleeves rolled once, revealing strong forearms. His hair was slightly messy, like he hadn't slept. Harper swallowed hard. Hi. About last night. Sit, he said without turning. His voice wasn't rude, it was controlled. Calm. Too calm. Harper sat in the chair across from a large desk. Lorenzo finally turned toward her. He looked different without the chaos of the party lights. Serious, focused, still intimidating, but in a quieter way that made her chest tighten. I wanted to make sure you were not harmed, he said. Your friend's party was unusual. That's one word for it, Harper mumbled. He sat across from her, leaning back slightly. Harper Evans, marketing assistant, part-time event planner, grew up in Oregon. Lives in a small apartment outside Denver, late on rent twice this year. Never been arrested. No known connections to organized crime. Harper blinked. How do you know all that? I had someone check, he said simply. Check? Like, investigate me? Yes. Her jaw dropped. Because I accidentally climbed you. His lips twitched, like he wanted to smile but stopped himself. Because you pulled me into a room full of drunk women while there was a potential threat in my casino. Harper stared at him. That is not my fault. I thought you were the entertainment. I noticed. You didn't correct me. I tried. You were too quiet. You were too confident. Harper felt heat rise in her cheeks again. She looked away, embarrassed. Okay, I get it. I messed up. It was stupid. It was unexpected. He corrected. Is that your polite word for stupid? No, that is my polite word for interesting. Harper's heart skipped. Before she could respond, someone knocked and entered quickly. Nick, the suited man from the night before, handed Lorenzo a phone. We found something, Nick said quietly. Lorenzo's expression sharpened. Show me. He tapped the screen and turned the phone so Harper could see. A photo. A grainy surveillance-style image taken near the casino. Of Harper. Talking to Madison. Nothing suspicious, except the angle. Where did you get this? Harper asked. Nick answered. It was on the phone of a man we detained downstairs last night. He is connected to a rival group. Harper felt her stomach twist. Why would someone take a picture of me? Nick shrugged. You tell us. I don't know any criminals, she protested. Lorenzo watched her closely. I believe you. Harper froze. She didn't expect that. But, he continued, your face being on a rival's phone is not something I can ignore. I didn't do anything. I know. His voice softened slightly. But you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nick added, these people notice everything. They could have seen you talking to him last night and misunderstood. Talking to who? Harper asked. Lorenzo didn't answer. Harper leaned forward. Tell me. You were seen with me, Lorenzo said. That makes you a target. Her heart pounded. A target? I don't even live here. That doesn't matter to them. Harper swallowed hard. So what now? Am I supposed to hide? Leave Vegas? You're not leaving the hotel, he said. Not until I understand why your photo is in the wrong hands. She stood up. I'm going home. No, you're not. Lorenzo, I'm a tourist. I have a job, bills, a life. He rose from his chair, and she suddenly remembered how large he was, how still, how controlled. You will stay here until I decide it's safe, he said softly. If you leave, I cannot protect you. I don't need protection. You do now. Harper clenched her jaw. Why are you doing all of this? Because I embarrassed myself. Because you're angry. Lorenzo stepped closer. Harper, you dragged me into that room. You sat on my lap. You put your hands on me. His voice lowered. And now someone has your picture on their phone. Forgive me if I don't believe that's a coincidence. Harper's breath caught. You think this is connected? I think someone saw you with me. And if they believe you matter to me, they will try to use you. Matter to you? She repeated. His gaze didn't change. People make assumptions. Harper wanted to argue, but fear mixed with something she didn't want to name. He stepped back. I'm assigning you a suite on a restricted floor. You will stay there until I say otherwise. And what if I refuse? He stared at her with a calm that felt more dangerous than shouting. You won't. She exhaled shakily. You can't just trap me here. I'm not trapping you. I'm protecting you. That's the same thing. No, he said quietly. Trapping you would mean I benefit from keeping you close. Protecting you means I'm responsible for you being in danger. Those are not the same. Harper didn't know what to say. A security guard approached the door. Mr. Conti, we need you downstairs. Now. It's urgent. Lorenzo nodded once. Harper, go with Nick. Stay in the suite. Do not wander. Do not leave. She crossed her arms. I don't like being ordered around. That's fine, he said, walking past her. But you're still doing it. He left the room with 2 guards. Nick gestured politely. Ms. Evans? Harper followed him out, furious and terrified at the same time. As Nick escorted her toward the private elevator, Harper lowered her voice. Is this what he does? Control people? Nick didn't answer right away. He controls danger, he finally said. Sometimes that includes people. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. When she reached the new suite, she stepped inside and found a spacious room with a view of the city. Clean, luxurious, silent. She walked to the window and stared at the strip far below. The lights felt colder today. She didn't ask for any of this. She wanted a simple weekend with her friends. She wanted to forget work stress and life problems. And now she was stuck inside a Mafia boss's private suite because some unknown enemy had decided to take her picture. She paced the room, running a hand through her hair. This is insane. Her phone buzzed. A message from Madison. Are you safe? Do we need to call someone? Do not make out with him. Unless he's hot in person. Then maybe. Harper groaned. She typed back, I'm fine. Just stuck in a suite. It's complicated. She didn't add, It's complicated because a criminal might think I'm important to a mafia boss I accidentally climbed like a jungle gym. That part sounded insane even in her own mind. Hours passed. Harper paced, showered, organized her purse, reorganized her purse, and then gave up. As the sun started to set, she walked toward the window again, trying to calm her breathing. But across the street, in a dimly lit building, a faint glimmer caught her eye. A reflection. A lens. Someone was watching the hotel, watching her window. Harper stepped back instinctively. She grabbed the phone Lorenzo had left for her and typed a message to Nick. Someone is looking into the windows from the building across the street. I saw a reflection. Maybe a camera. Room 5401. Nick replied instantly. Stay away from the window. Lock the door. Do not move. Harper's heart pounded. She backed away slowly, pressing her spine against the wall. Minutes later, she heard footsteps outside. 3 men rushed into the suite, 2 guards and Lorenzo. He scanned the room, eyes sharp. Harper, are you hurt? She shook her head. I just saw, I don't know. Something was pointed at the window. Lorenzo walked to the glass, observing the building across the street. His jaw tightened. Nick handed him a phone. Boss, you need to see this. Lorenzo looked at the screen. Harper stepped closer, trying to see. It was a photo of her, sitting on Lorenzo's lap from last night, captured from a different angle, likely from one of the rivals' devices. And under it, a message. She is a good weakness. Lorenzo's expression darkened. Harper's breath caught. A weakness? Her? The room felt colder. Lorenzo didn't look at her at first. He stared at the picture like it was a threat carved in stone. Then he finally turned his eyes to her. They were not calm, not amused, not curious. They were lethal. Lorenzo didn't speak for nearly a full minute after reading the message under Harper's photo. The silence was worse than yelling, worse than panic, worse than anything she could imagine from a man with his kind of reputation. Harper stood completely still, afraid to move or breathe. Nick waited by the door, tense. Finally, Lorenzo lowered the phone and looked at Harper with an expression she couldn't read. It wasn't anger at her. It was anger at something else, something bigger, something dangerous. We're leaving Vegas, he said. Harper blinked. What? This hotel is compromised. Someone got close enough to take this angle. He lifted the phone slightly. They were inside the casino, or inside the garage. They were watching us before I realized it. Us? Harper echoed softly. Lorenzo didn't flinch. They think hurting you would hurt me. Harper's chest tightened. But we don't know each other. They don't know that, he said sharply. They only know what they saw. A guard stepped toward him. Boss, we can secure the floor. Reinforce the windows. No. Lorenzo's voice was firm. I'm not keeping her here another night. Harper pointed to herself. I can leave, I can go home. I don't need... You're not going home, he interrupted. She stared at him. You're not serious. I'm very serious. Lorenzo, you can't just take me somewhere. You're already involved, he said quietly. If you return to your apartment, they will find you before I do. The directness in his tone made her chest feel heavy. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. I know, he said. But it's still happening. He turned to Nick. Prepare the jet, 1 hour. Nick nodded and rushed out. Harper shook her head. I can't leave the state. I have a job. You won't have a job if you're dead, Nick said from the hallway. Lorenzo shot him a warning look. Nick disappeared. Harper pressed a hand to her forehead. This is insane. Lorenzo stepped closer. Harper, I'm not negotiating this. You're safer with me than anywhere else. She looked up at him, suddenly aware of just how close he was. Why do you care this much? His jaw tightened. Because I am the reason they noticed you. Her breath caught. He turned away before she could respond. Pack what you need. You're coming with me to New York. 2 hours later, Harper found herself walking through a private hangar behind the hotel. The sun wasn't fully up yet, and the cool Vegas air made her shiver. Lorenzo walked ahead with 2 guards beside him. Nick walked behind her like he was guarding royalty. Harper hugged her hoodie tighter. "I feel like I'm being arrested." Nick shrugged. "We don't arrest people." "That's comforting." "Wasn't meant to be." She glared at him. Lorenzo walked up the ramp into the jet without looking back, but Harper noticed he slowed slightly, making sure she was following. Inside, the private jet was quiet and spacious. Cream leather seats, soft lights, a small hallway leading to a private cabin. Harper sat nervously in the nearest chair. Lorenzo sat across from her, elbows resting on his knees, watching her with an intensity that made her shift in her seat. "You can sleep," he said. "It's a 5-hour flight." "I can't sleep," she replied. "Your world is too loud." He raised an eyebrow. "My world?" "You know what I mean." Lorenzo leaned back. "What happened to you is not normal. I understand that." "I don't understand any of this," she admitted. "A few hours ago I was drinking margaritas. Now I'm on a private jet with a man whose security team is watching my window like I'm some kind of VIP target." He studied her quietly. "You handled everything better than most people would." "That's not true." "It is." His tone was firm. "You didn't scream. You didn't panic. You didn't freeze. You reacted. You sent a message. You followed instructions." Harper scoffed. "I was terrified." "That's normal." He paused. "Fear doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware." She looked down at her hands. "Do you deal with this often?" "Threats?" he asked. "Yes, but not like this." "Like what?" He looked directly into her eyes. "With someone else involved." Harper felt something warm and unsettling in her chest. She looked away quickly, pretending to adjust her seatbelt. He didn't push further. When the jet landed in New York, it was early morning. The air was cold and crisp compared to Vegas. A black SUV waited on the tarmac, along with another vehicle behind it. Guards stepped out, scanning the area. "This is too much," Harper whispered. "People are staring." "People always stare," Lorenzo said. She looked at him. "Doesn't it bother you?" "No." The ride to the city took nearly an hour. Harper watched the skyline grow larger and larger, the tall buildings reflecting the early sun. She tried to admire the view, but anxiety kept twisting in her stomach. When they pulled up to a tall glass tower with a golden Conti logo at the top, Harper's jaw dropped. "You live here?" she asked. "For now," he replied. "For now?" she repeated. "I move when I need to." Harper's pulse quickened. Inside the building, everything smelled clean and expensive. Guards greeted Lorenzo with formal nods. Elevators required biometric access. Cameras followed every angle. Harper whispered, "I feel like I shouldn't touch anything." "That's good," Lorenzo said. "Most things here are expensive." She rolled her eyes. He smirked. They reached the top floor, a massive penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. The living room was modern and sharp, all clean lines and dark colors. It felt intimidating, like Lorenzo himself. "This is where you'll stay," he said. "Where?" she asked, overwhelmed. He nodded down a hallway. "Second door, guest suite." Harper walked inside and gasped. It was larger than her entire apartment back home. A king bed, a sofa, a private bathroom, and a view that made her feel like she was floating above the city. She sat on the bed and stared at the skyline, trying to calm her breathing. After a moment, he spoke softly from the doorway. "I know you're overwhelmed, but this is temporary." "How temporary?" she asked. "Until I understand why they took your picture." "And you think they followed me because of you?" He didn't even blink. "Yes." Harper hugged her knees. "I don't want to be in the middle of this." "You already are." She hated how honest that sounded. Lorenzo stepped closer until he stood a few feet from her. "I'll make sure nothing happens to you." "You can't promise that." "I can," he said firmly. "And I will." She looked at him, and something in his expression made her heart flutter despite the fear. He wasn't flirting. He wasn't joking. He was serious. Protecting her wasn't an option for him. It was a responsibility. And yet, The way he looked at her felt stronger than responsibility. It felt personal. The next few days inside the penthouse followed a strange pattern. Lorenzo worked constantly, speaking quietly with his men, taking meetings in the office, reviewing documents Harper wasn't allowed to see. The building gained extra guards, cameras were adjusted, new codes were added to the elevators. Harper spent most of her time in the guest suite or the living area. She colored, reorganized her suitcase, paced again, and sometimes stared out the window, wondering how her life had changed so fast. Once, she found Lorenzo in the gym, lifting weights with slow, controlled movements. He didn't notice she was there at first. She watched the tension in his arms, the scars on his ribs, the faint bruise near his shoulder. He finally looked up. "Need something?" "No," she said quickly, embarrassed she'd stared too long. "Just exploring." He nodded. "You can use the gym if you want. I prefer not being crushed by barbells." He smirked. "Fair enough." Another day, they ate dinner at a small private restaurant inside the tower. Lorenzo spoke quietly with the chef about ingredients. It surprised her, the way he treated staff with respect, not fear. He wasn't what she had imagined a Mafia boss would be. Later, she met Isabella, Lorenzo's younger sister. Isabella smiled warmly. "You must be Harper. I've heard a lot." Harper tensed. "Good things?" "Everything Lorenzo says is short, so I made my own conclusions." Harper smiled nervously. Isabella leaned closer. "He likes you." Harper almost choked on her water. "No, he doesn't." Isabella laughed softly. "I know my brother. He doesn't protect strangers, and he doesn't bring women here." Harper's face burned. It's not, this is only because of danger." "Of course," Isabella said, clearly amused. "Danger." One night after dinner, Lorenzo and Harper rode the elevator back up to the penthouse alone. As the doors closed, Harper took a deep breath. "Lorenzo, do you really think they'll hurt me?" He looked at her in the reflection of the elevator wall. "If they think it will hurt me, yes. But I'm just a tourist." "You were a tourist," he corrected. "Now you're a loose end." Her heart thudded painfully. "Why me?" she asked in a shaky voice. "Why did someone even care about me at all? Do they think I know something?" Lorenzo didn't answer. He looked away, and Harper felt a cold chill slide down her spine. "Lorenzo," she whispered, "you know something. Tell me." He didn't turn, but his voice was low. "It might not be you they care about. It might be someone connected to you." "Who?" she asked, confused. The elevator doors opened. He stepped out. "Not now," he said. The dismissal stung. Harper followed him, but before she could push more, the penthouse lights flickered. A loud boom shook the building. Harper screamed and grabbed the wall. Lorenzo immediately shielded her with his body, pushing her behind him. Nick and 2 guards rushed in. "Boss! The car in front of the tower exploded." "What?" Harper gasped. Lorenzo's voice was sharp. "Casualties?" "No major injuries. The vehicle was empty. It was meant as a message." Harper felt her knees weaken. Lorenzo looked at her, really looked, and she saw fear in his eyes for the first time. Not fear for himself, fear for her. "Go to your room," he said quietly. "Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone except me." Harper didn't argue. She ran. When she reached her suite, she shut the door and pressed her back against it, heart racing. Somewhere across the building, guards scrambled. Orders were shouted. Alarms beeped. Harper walked to the window and stared at the street far below. Fire trucks. Police lights. Smoke rising from the burned-out vehicle. She pressed a hand to the cold glass. This wasn't Vegas chaos anymore. This was real danger, real enemies. And she was in the center of it because of a man she barely knew. She turned away, breathing hard. She didn't see the security camera outside her room flicker. She didn't see the shadow moving near the hallway. She didn't hear the soft click of someone tampering with the door lock panel. But Lorenzo did. And when he saw the footage, his chest tightened with a new fear. Someone inside his own building had leaked Harper's movements. Again. Lorenzo did not sleep the night the car exploded. Harper barely slept either. She lay awake in the guest room, listening to quiet footsteps, distant voices, doors opening and closing. Every sound made her tense. Every silence felt heavy. By morning, someone knocked once on her door. "Harper," Lorenzo called. "Open up. It's me." She unlocked the door. He stood there in a dark sweater and jeans, eyes tired, jaw shadowed with stubble. He looked less like a billionaire and more like a man who had not closed his eyes in hours. "We're leaving," he said. Her heart jumped. "Leaving where?" "Somewhere quieter. Somewhere they don't know." He paused. "A safe house." She frowned. "I thought this tower was safe." "It was," he said, "until someone inside started selling information." "Inside?" Harper repeated. "You mean someone who works for you?" His expression hardened. "Yes." She swallowed. "And they know I'm here. They know your floor. They know what time you move. The bomb last night was not random." He held her gaze. "I am not keeping you in a place I can't trust." She glanced back at the room that had started to feel almost familiar. "Is your safe house better than this?" "It has less glass and more walls," he said. "That's what matters right now." She nodded slowly. "Okay. What do you need me to do?" "Pack only what you need. Clothes, documents, nothing that will slow you down." His voice softened. "You'll be safe there. I'll be there too." Harper tried not to think about how her chest reacted to that last part. "Fine," she said. "But at some point you owe me a long explanation, with charts and subtitles." He almost smiled. "Almost. I'll try." 2 hours later, Harper sat in the back of a black SUV heading out of the city. Lorenzo sat beside her, one arm resting along the seat, body angled toward the window. 2 cars followed behind them. Every driver was armed. Every route was pre-checked. "Is it always like this?" she asked quietly as they passed bridges and gray buildings. "Like what?" "Like you're in a crime movie." He kept his eyes on the road ahead. "More or less. Doesn't that get exhausting?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "Then why stay in it?" He paused. "Because walking away isn't simple. You don't just resign and return a badge. You walk away, others die. You stay. You control what you can." She studied his profile. "You care more than you pretend." "That's bad for business," he said. "It's good for people," she answered. He finally looked at her. Their eyes held for a few seconds. Then he looked away again. "Maybe." The car left the main highway and turned onto a smaller road lined with trees. Traffic disappeared. The city skyline shrank behind them. Harper's shoulders slowly relaxed, even if her mind did not. The safe house was a 2-story home behind a gate, set back from the road, surrounded by tall trees. It looked quiet, normal, no golden logos, no glass walls, no luxury furniture in sight, at least from the outside. "This is yours?" Harper asked as they got out. "It belongs to a company that belongs to a company that belongs to me," Lorenzo said. "On paper it looks boring. That is the point." Inside, the house was warm and simple. Wooden floors, soft lighting, a normal kitchen with normal appliances, a lived-in sofa in the living room. There were security cameras and reinforced doors, but it still felt more human than the tower. Harper looked around slowly. "I like this better." "Because it doesn't scream my name?" he asked. "Because it doesn't scream anything," she said. "It feels real, less like a museum." He watched her for a second, then nodded. "Good. That means you'll be able to breathe here." Nick brought in a few bags and handed Lorenzo a folder. "We've limited the list of people who know about this location. Me, Isabella, Marco, and Luis. That's it. No one else gets the address unless you approve." Lorenzo took the folder. "Good." Harper eyed Nick cautiously. "So you know where I sleep now, too?" Nick gave a brief smile. "I knew that before you knew my name." She was not sure if that was comforting or disturbing. Lorenzo showed Harper the room she would use. It had a double bed, a dresser, and a small desk by the window. The view showed trees and a small gravel driveway. It's simple, he said, but safe. I like simple, she replied. There was a brief silence. If you need anything, tell me, he said. You mean tell you or tell your security? He hesitated. Tell me first. Something soft flickered in her chest again. I will, she said quietly. The first day in the safe house was strange. Harper helped in the kitchen because she refused to sit and do nothing while men walked around with guns outside. She chopped vegetables, washed dishes, and tried to ignore the fact that men took turns circling the property with earpieces. At one point, Lorenzo walked in and stopped when he saw her at the stove. You cook? He asked. She lifted a pan lid. I cook better than I strip. A laugh escaped him before he could stop it. It was short, low, and real. Harper smiled despite herself. Was that an actual laugh? Don't tell anyone, he said. Later they ate at a small wooden table, no private chefs, just basic food with real conversation. You grew up in Oregon? He asked. Yes, small town, lots of rain. Boring in a safe way. You left because it was boring? I left because I wanted more than the same 2 streets and 1 decent coffee shop, she said. And because my dad's job situation got complicated. Complicated how? She hesitated. He did accounting for some companies that later turned out to be shady. There were investigations, lawsuits. We had to move. He lost almost everything. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. Did he know what he was getting into? He asked. I don't think so at first, she said. Later? I don't know. He never told me the full truth. Does he still work with them? No, Harper said. He's trying to fix his life. He works long hours at some dull firm. He drinks too much coffee and worries about money. That's it. Lorenzo was quiet for a moment. Why are you asking? She added. Because your last name is in some old reports, he said. Because Vincent Hale used some of those companies. Because he is the one sending messages now. Her blood ran cold. You think this is about my dad? I think your father worked near people I already know, he answered. That makes you visible to the wrong eyes. Harper stared at the table. I didn't choose any of that. I know. They ate in silence for a few seconds. What about you? She asked suddenly. Did you choose this world? He thought about it. I chose not to die in it. That's not the same thing. Isabella told me you cleaned part of your family's business, she said. No drugs in your hotels, no trafficking, no kids involved. His eyes sharpened. She talks too much. She's proud of you, Harper said. She thinks you're better than the men who came before you. He looked away first. That doesn't erase everything, he said. No, she agreed, but it matters. That night, a storm hit. Wind howled around the house. Rain hit the windows hard. The trees outside moved in strong, constant waves. The safe house felt smaller, but not in a bad way, in a focused way. Harper sat on the couch in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, watching some random show with the volume low. It was hard to pay attention. Every thunderclap made her jump a little. When the lights suddenly went out, she froze. Great, she whispered. Perfect timing. For a moment there was only darkness and the sound of heavy rain. Then a small flashlight beam appeared in the hallway. Harper? Lorenzo's voice came. I'm here. He walked in, holding the flashlight low so it didn't blind her. The faint light showed the edges of his face, the line of his jaw, the concern in his eyes. Power cut, he said. Backup generator is starting, but it may take a minute. I'm fine, she said, though her heart was racing. Just didn't expect it. Storm affects lines out here, he explained, almost apologetic. It's normal. Normal is not a word I associate with you, she said. Fair, he admitted. They stood there in the dim light, closer than usual. The silence between them felt heavy, but not tense. It felt full. You should stay away from the windows, he said, just in case. She nodded. Another loud thunderclap shook the house. Harper flinched. She tried to hide it, but he noticed. His expression softened. Do storms bother you? He asked. Only when I'm in a criminal safe house with men outside holding guns, she said. Otherwise, they're very cozy. He huffed a quiet breath. Come to the kitchen. It's safer there. No big windows. He led the way with the flashlight. The kitchen felt smaller and warmer in the dark. He placed the flashlight on the counter, pointing up, so it lit the room with a soft glow. Harper leaned back against the counter. She could see him clearly now. He was close. Too close. You know, she said, trying to ease the tension, I imagined this weekend in a very different way. How so? He asked. Cheap drinks, bad club music, maybe a cute bartender, definitely no organized crime. He watched her. Disappointed. Terrified, she answered honestly, then softer, and a little confused. Confused about what? You, she said. He held her gaze. What about me? He asked. You do terrible things, she said. You order men around. You decide who lives where, who is protected, who is watched. And at the same time, you cook with your sister. You care about hotel staff. You notice when my hands shake. His jaw clenched slightly. You think attention cancels violence? No, she said. I think it makes you less easy to hate. Silence filled the space between them. He stepped closer. Maybe you should hate me. Maybe, she agreed. But right now I don't. His eyes dropped to her mouth for a second. Her breath hitched. Harper, he said slowly, I don't want to use fear to keep you close. If you want to leave when this is over, I'll let you go. Her chest tightened. What if I don't want to think about when this is over right now? What do you want to think about? He asked. She swallowed. Right now? Yes. You, she said softly. And the fact that I'm very aware of you standing this close. His hand brushed the counter near her hip, not touching her yet. I'm aware of you too. She looked up at him, heart pounding. Then stop making all the decisions alone. Tell me what you want, he said. I want you to kiss me, she whispered, if you want that too. His control slipped for the first time. He reached up and cupped her face gently, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. She leaned into his touch. His thumb brushed her cheek, slow and careful, like he was afraid she would disappear if he moved too fast. He lowered his head and kissed her. It was not rushed, it was not aggressive, it was firm and honest. His mouth was warm, his hand steady. She gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. The tension that had been building between them since Vegas finally snapped into something clear. He broke the kiss only long enough to search her eyes. Tell me to stop if this feels wrong, he said. It doesn't, she breathed. He kissed her again, deeper this time. The storm outside grew louder, but inside the kitchen the world shrank to the distance between them. She felt his body heat, the solid weight of his hands on her waist, the way he held himself back just enough to let her choose how far this went. Lorenzo, she murmured against his mouth. I'm not drunk. I'm not confused. I know where I am and who you are. He rested his forehead against hers for a second. Do you? Yes, she said. You're the man who terrifies me and makes me feel safer at the same time. I don't know what to do with that, but I know I want this. His answer was another kiss. Later, when they moved from the kitchen to the bedroom, he stayed exactly the same, asking, waiting, giving her space to say no. She didn't. She said yes, again and again, with her hands, her mouth, her body, her words. Nothing about that night was casual. Nothing about it was a distraction. It was a clear choice on both sides. The next morning, Harper woke up in a bed that smelled like soap and his cologne. Light filtered through the curtains. The storm had passed. The house was quiet. Lorenzo sat in a chair near the window, fully dressed, watching her with an expression she couldn't read right away. It wasn't regret. It wasn't pride. It was something heavier. Good morning, she said softly. Morning, he replied. She sat up, pulling the sheet with her. Are you okay? I am now, he said. You? She nodded. I don't regret it, if that's what you're worrying about. He exhaled, some tension leaving his shoulders. That's not what worries me. Then what does? He hesitated. Things moved faster than I planned. She smiled faintly. You planned this? I planned to keep you alive, he said. The rest was not in the schedule. Harper laughed quietly. I don't think whoever is trying to kill us cares about your schedule. His mouth curved, but the worry in his eyes did not disappear. Harper, he said slowly, if you ever feel like this is too much, you can tell me. I will listen, even if I don't like it. She held his gaze. Lorenzo, last night I made a choice. I'm not fragile. I'm scared, but I'm not broken. You're not forcing me to do anything. He nodded once. Good. There was a knock at the door. Boss, Nick called from the hallway. We have something. Lorenzo's face hardened again. I'll be there in a minute. He looked back at Harper. Stay in the room for now. I'll come back. She nodded. Okay. He left, closing the door behind him. Harper lay back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling. For the first time since Vegas, she felt something close to calm. Not complete peace, but a sense that there was a path forward. A future where this was more than fear and chaos. She did not know that in the next room, that future was being questioned. Lorenzo walked into the small office downstairs. Nick and Marco stood near a table, a laptop open between them and a stack of printed reports. What is it? Lorenzo asked. Nick pointed to the screen. We ran another sweep on the location data from last week. Vegas, New York. Here. We checked every device near you and near Harper. Lorenzo's jaw flexed. And? We found something, Nick said. Her secure phone sent a ping from the tower right before the car exploded. Lorenzo narrowed his eyes. Her phone was locked. She doesn't even know how to access half the apps on it yet. I know, Nick said, but this log came directly from our internal system. It shows a connection from her device to an address tied to Vincent Hale's men. Marco added, it could be a clone. It could be a manipulation of the data. But on paper, it looks like her phone talked to them. Lorenzo stared at the lines of code on the screen. The printed report showed timestamps, numbers, and a clear line highlighting device, Harper Evans, outgoing ping. Nick watched his face carefully. We can't ignore this, boss. Lorenzo's mind moved fast. Harper asleep in his bed upstairs. Her eyes when she told him she had no idea why any of this was happening. The way she had reacted to every threat. The way she had reached for him during the storm. He wanted to trust her. He also had men who had died because he trusted the wrong person once before. He picked up the printed report and read it twice. I want every possible explanation, he said. Technical, human, accidental, intentional. I want to know if this is real or if someone is trying to make it look real. Nick nodded. We're already digging. Lorenzo gripped the paper so tightly his knuckles turned white. Upstairs, Harper shifted in the bed, reaching out to the empty space where he had been. She smiled faintly, thinking about the night before, unaware of the doubt spreading downstairs. Lorenzo looked up toward the ceiling, toward the room where she was. His voice was low when he finally spoke. If this is a setup, he said, I will find who is behind it and bury them. And if it isn't? Nick asked quietly. Lorenzo didn't answer. He turned away, the paper still in his hand. Harper woke slowly, stretching with a small, relaxed sigh, the kind that came from finally sleeping without fear. The safe house was quiet. Warm light filtered through the curtains. For the first time since Vegas, she felt grounded. But the moment she turned her head, the space beside her was empty. No Lorenzo sitting in the chair. No soft stare watching her wake. No quiet, good morning, just silence. She wrapped the blanket around herself and stood, confused. When she opened the bedroom door, she found him standing in the hallway, arms crossed, jaw locked tight, holding a folder. Her stomach dropped. Lorenzo, she whispered. He didn't move. Come into the room, he said quietly. Something was wrong. She felt it immediately. The distance, the coldness, the way he didn't look at her mouth or hands or hair like he always did. He looked at her the way a man looked at a problem he didn't want. Harper stepped inside. He closed the door behind them. His voice was steady. Too steady. We need to talk. Her heart sped up. Okay, what's going on? He opened the folder. Your secure phone sent a location ping to a number connected to Vincent Hale. Harper felt the sentence hit her like a punch. What? She breathed. It happened the night of the car explosion. He didn't raise his voice. Somehow that was worse. The signal came directly from your device. Harper shook her head instantly. No. No, Lorenzo, I don't even know how to send anything. You gave me that phone. I barely know how to turn it on. He stared at her, expression unreadable. She felt her throat tighten. Lorenzo, look at me. I would never contact anyone. I don't know these people, I swear. Harper. He held up a hand. I'm not accusing you of intentionally working with them. But his voice cracked on intentionally. The implication stabbed her. Oh my God, she whispered. You think I did something? You think I helped them? I'm saying there was a leak, he said. And on paper, the leak traces back to your device. But not to me, she cried. I would never do that. I want to believe that. Her chest felt like it was collapsing. You want to? You don't? Lorenzo looked away for the first time. His silence was worse than shouting. Harper stepped closer, voice trembling. Lorenzo, last night, I trusted you. You trusted me. She swallowed hard. We chose each other. You don't just forget that in the morning. His jaw tightened. Feelings don't erase threats. So now I'm a threat? You're a possibility, he said quietly. Harper stumbled back like he had slapped her. Wow. Okay, so that's what I am to you. A possibility. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant, she said, voice breaking. This is my worst nightmare. I'm always the problem in someone's life. Always the girl men think is too much trouble, too emotional, too complicated. And now I'm apparently a threat to a Mafia family. Are you kidding me? His expression flickered with something, pain, but he didn't move. She wrapped her arms around herself. Last night you looked at me like I was someone you wanted, someone you cared about. I woke up thinking maybe I wasn't alone anymore, and now you're standing there holding a file and looking at me like a liability. He didn't deny it. Harper laughed once, a broken sound. Wow, I really know how to pick them. Harper, he said softly, I'm trying to protect everyone, including you. You're not protecting me, she whispered. You're punishing me. He blinked. I'm punishing you? Yes, for something I didn't do. You think I'm stupid enough to leak my own location to a criminal? You think I'd betray you, after everything? I never said betray. You didn't have to, she cut in. You're acting like I'm guilty. Silence. She backed up until her legs hit the edge of the bed. What do you want me to do? Swear on my life? Cry? Prove myself? I don't have proof. I don't have anything but my word. I'm not asking for proof. Yes, you are. You just won't say it. He inhaled slowly. I have to move you again. You can't stay here. Her chest caved. Move me? Where? Back home. Harper froze. You're sending me away? Until I understand what's happening, it's safer if you're not here. She stared at him in disbelief. You think being alone makes me safer? You won't be alone. I'll assign a team. No, she said, voice cracking. I don't want your team. I want you to trust me. He closed the folder. I need time. She shook her head. Time? We don't have time. Someone is trying to kill us. And you want time? He didn't answer. Harper whispered. Last night meant nothing to you. It meant something, he said quietly. Too much. That's the problem. She felt tears burn her eyes. Get out. Harper. Get out. For the first time since Vegas, Lorenzo Conti obeyed someone else. He left the room slowly, closing the door behind him, and Harper collapsed onto the bed, pressing her face into her hands, shaking from heartbreak, fear, and humiliation. An hour later, bags were packed. Harper walked down the stairs with silent steps. Lorenzo stood near the front door, hands clasped behind his back, looking like marble. Nick waited by the SUV, jaw tight, eyes unreadable. Isabella tried to hug Harper, but Harper shook her head, eyes too wet to speak. "Please don't go," Isabella whispered. "I don't have a choice," Harper said. Isabella glared at Lorenzo. "This is wrong." "It's necessary," he replied. Harper walked past him toward the car without a word. He didn't stop her. He didn't reach for her. He didn't fight. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. Nick opened the back door. "We'll take you to the airport, then fly you home with 2 guards. Harper nodded, swallowing hard. She didn't look back at Lorenzo. She couldn't. The car door closed. The engine started. Lorenzo stood on the porch as the SUV rolled down the gravel driveway, his expression unreadable, but his fists clenched at his sides. Harper watched him through the tinted window, just once. Then he disappeared behind the trees. She whispered to herself, "I should have never opened that door in Vegas." Nick drove in silence for nearly 30 minutes. Harper stared out the window, wiping tears quietly, trying to breathe. The safe house vanished behind them. The main road stretched ahead. Then, from nowhere, tires screeched. A black truck slammed into the side of the SUV. Harper screamed as the vehicle spun violently. The guard in the passenger seat shouted orders into a radio. The SUV skidded to a stop against a barrier. Harper's ears rang. "Down!" the guard yelled, grabbing her shoulder and pushing her toward the floor. Bullets hit the side of the vehicle. Nick pulled out a weapon, cursing. "How the hell? We didn't tell anyone this route." Another truck blocked the front. Masked men jumped out. The guard tried to fire back, but a blast hit the back door. He shouted, "They're trying to breach!" Someone yanked the door open. A rough hand grabbed Harper by the arm. She screamed, kicking, trying to claw at the seat. Nick reached for her. "Harper!" A gun hit him across the face, knocking him back. The men dragged Harper out of the SUV and lifted her into a different vehicle. "No!" she cried, kicking, fighting, trying to break free. "Let me go!" One man covered her mouth with a gloved hand. "Sorry, sweetheart. Orders." She fought harder. A needle pricked her neck. Her vision blurred. Nick stumbled toward the men, blood dripping from his eyebrow. "Don't touch her." The door slammed in his face. The last thing Harper saw before darkness took her was Nick screaming her name through shattered glass. When Harper woke, her mouth tasted like metal. Her head throbbed. Her wrists burned. She was tied to a chair in a cold, gray room with a single bulb overhead. Her vision slowly sharpened. A door opened. A tall man in a suit walked in. Vincent Hale. He smiled like a man greeting a guest at a dinner party. "Well, well," he said. Harper Evans, the tourist who became a very interesting problem. Harper's heart raced. "Why are you doing this?" Vincent walked in a slow circle around her. "Because Lorenzo Conti is careful, hard to manipulate, hard to break. But you?" He paused. "You're easy." "I don't know anything about you," she said. "I'm not part of this." "Oh, you are," Vincent said. "Your father used to work for companies that hid my money, money that vanished, money Lorenzo now controls. And you appeared beside him like a gift." "That's not true," she said. Vincent smirked. "Oh, Harper, you have more value than you think, as a message, as leverage, as pain." He crouched in front of her. "And you are going to help me destroy Lorenzo Conti." Harper felt ice fill her chest. She whispered, "I'll never help you." He smiled. "You already did." He held up a phone. On the screen was a file showing the fake location ping. Harper's pulse dropped. "That wasn't me." "Doesn't matter," Vincent said. He believed it. Harper's eyes burned. "You're lying." Vincent tilted his head. "Aren't you curious how I got that data? How it landed in his hands at the perfect moment?" Harper froze. Vincent stood and tapped the door twice. A shadow appeared in the hall. Footsteps. A figure stepped into view. Nick. Harper felt her blood turn to ice. Nick smirked. "Hello, Harper." Harper stared at Nick, her breath stuck in her throat, her heart thundering so loudly she could barely hear anything else. The man who had escorted her, protected her, joked with her, glared at her, the man who worked at Lorenzo's side every single day, stood only a few feet away, hands in his pockets like he wasn't standing inside hell. Her voice came out in a whisper. "You betrayed him." Nick smiled like it was nothing. Let's drop the dramatics, Harper. Betrayal is such a heavy word. Vincent smirked. I prefer strategic reallocation of loyalty. Harper pulled on the ropes binding her wrists. Why are you doing this? Lorenzo trusted you. Nick shrugged. That man doesn't trust anyone. Not really. He gives orders. He expects obedience. Trust? That's an illusion he uses to keep people close. That's not true, Harper shot back. He trusted you. He put his life in your hands. Nick let out a flat laugh. Then he's dumber than I thought. Vincent crossed his arms, amused. Nick here realized something I realized a long time ago. Lorenzo is dangerous, but he's predictable. He plays by rules even when he pretends not to. That makes him weak. And weakness? That's expensive. Harper felt sick. You lied to him. Nick looked directly into her eyes. No, I adapted. You framed me, she said. You used my phone. You made it look like I leaked something. Nick tilted his head. I didn't frame you for fun. I framed you because it was easy. You were already close. You already mattered to him. So when the moment came, all I had to do was drop a little seed of doubt. And he believed you, Vincent added with a grin. Immediately, not even a fight. That should tell you something about his priorities, sweetheart. Harper's chest tightened painfully. No, he was torn. He pushed you away, Vincent interrupted. He sent you out with a security escort, straight into my hands. If he had any sense, he'd have kept you under his roof. But he didn't trust you enough. Harper shook her head. He was scared. He didn't want me hurt. Vincent laughed softly. A scared man makes stupid decisions. That's why he's losing. That's why you're here. Nick moved closer, lowering his voice. Lorenzo always thought he could rise above the dirt, cut deals, clean the blood, create some picture-perfect empire. He forgot what keeps men like him in power. He tapped his temple. Fear. Harper glared at him. You talk about fear, but you were terrified of him. I saw it, every time he looked at you. Nick's smile faltered for half a second. Then he straightened. Fear keeps people alive, he said, but Lorenzo lost his edge. You soft-hearted him. Harper froze. Nick's grin widened. I could see it the moment he looked at you. Something changed. He started hesitating, doubting, protecting. And that's when I realized the fastest way to destroy Lorenzo Conti wasn't through war. He pointed at her. It was through you. Harper wanted to spit at him. You're a coward. Nick shrugged. I'm a survivor. Vincent clapped his hands once. Enough emotional talk. We have business. Nick nodded and stepped back. Vincent crouched in front of Harper again, resting his forearms on his knees. You are going to help me, he said calmly. Not willingly, of course, but help me you will. Harper clenched her jaw. I won't tell you anything about Lorenzo. Oh, Harper. Vincent laughed. You don't know anything about Lorenzo that I don't already know. He stood and signaled to a guard. Bring her to the holding room, he ordered. She stays awake. No more sedatives. Harper struggled against the ropes. Let me go. Vincent didn't even look at her. When Lorenzo realizes you're gone, he will try to find you. That's when you become useful. Nick stepped forward, expression slightly harder now. Be careful with her. If she's injured too badly, Lorenzo will see the message wrong. The guard nodded. Vincent smirked. Oh, worried she won't look pretty enough for the reunion? Nick didn't react. Harper was dragged out of the room. She fought, kicked, twisted, but the ropes cut into her wrists and the guard didn't loosen his grip. Vincent called after her. Don't worry, Harper. Your boyfriend is on his way. The words followed her like poison. Back in New York, Lorenzo was a man unraveling. His jaw was bruised from the moment he punched a reinforced wall so hard his knuckles split. His voice was gone from shouting orders. His hands trembled when no one was looking. He paced the room in the safe house like a caged animal, staring at the bloody gravel photograph Nick had sent from the attack site. Harper was taken, Marco repeated. We found shell casings with Hale's markings. Lorenzo's voice was raw. Why wasn't I called the second the route changed? Marco swallowed. Because Nick... Lorenzo spun toward him, every muscle in his body turning to steel. Nick what? Marco hesitated. Nick switched the vehicles before departure. He said it was for security reasons. Lorenzo's stomach dropped like stone. Where is Nick now? He asked. We can't reach him. The world went silent. Lorenzo's pulse hammered. The betrayal slammed into him with brutal clarity. Nick, his right hand, his closest man, the one who stood beside him for years, the one he trusted with Harper, the one he trusted with his life. And Nick betrayed him. Nick had framed Harper. Nick had delivered her straight into danger. Nick had controlled the entire attack. Lorenzo pressed both hands to the table, head bowed. He whispered, "This is my fault." Marco stepped forward. "Boss, I sent her away." His voice cracked. "I put her in his hands." Marco didn't answer. There was nothing he could say. Lorenzo straightened slowly. When he lifted his head, the man who turned around wasn't the man Harper knew last night. It was the coldest version of Lorenzo Conti. Dead calm, sharp eyes, no hesitation left. "Get me every file on Nick's movements," he said. "Every call, every transfer, every message. I want every connection he has made in the last 5 years." "Yes, boss." "And get a team together," Lorenzo added. "We leave in 1 hour." Marco nodded. "Where are we going?" "Hale's strongholds," Lorenzo said. "All of them." Marco blinked. "That'll start a war." Lorenzo's voice dropped. "He took something from me. I'm ending this." Harper was shoved into a holding room, cement walls, a metal chair, a single light overhead. Her hands were tied to the back of the chair. Her legs were bound. Each breath hurt. She forced herself to stay calm, stay alert, stay alive. She replayed Nick's words in her head. He believed the file. He pushed you away. He made you an easy target. It hurt more than she wanted to admit. She squeezed her eyes shut. "No," she whispered. "He's coming. He has to." Because last night wasn't casual. Not for her, and not for him. Footsteps echoed outside. Metal scraped. Someone opened the small hatch in the door. A guard tossed a water bottle onto the floor and slammed it shut again. Harper leaned forward on the chair legs, stretching as far as she could until she hooked the bottle with her foot and dragged it closer. Then more voices echoed down the hall. She recognized one instantly. Vincent, and another, lower, angrier. Nick. "We need to move fast," Nick said. "He'll figure out the location soon." Vincent clicked his tongue. "You're impatient." "He's not stupid," Nick snapped. "He knows I fed him lies. He knows I staged everything." Harper froze. "He knows," Nick repeated. "He already knows it was me." Vincent shrugged. "Then he'll come." "Yes," Nick said, voice cold. "And when he does, I want to be the one to watch him fall." Harper's heart twisted. Nick had hated Lorenzo for years. Maybe jealousy, maybe ambition, maybe resentment. But betrayal this deep didn't come from one motive. It came from a lifetime. Meanwhile, in the safe house, Lorenzo was reading through files. Isabella burst through the door, pale and frantic. "You found her?" she asked. "No." "Then why is everyone packing weapons?" "Because Nick was the leak," he said softly. Isabella covered her mouth. "No. I should have seen it," he said bitterly. "I should have seen everything." "Lorenzo." She stepped in front of him. "You are not responsible for another man's betrayal." He looked up slowly. "I sent her away. I told her to leave. I let him take her. And now you're going to fix it," she said. "That's what you do." He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up his gun, fastened the holster, and pulled on a tactical vest. Isabella stepped closer. "Lorenzo, when you find her, you have to tell her the truth. You have to tell her why you sent her away." His jaw tensed. "She won't care." "She will," Isabella insisted. "She cares about you, even after everything." His breath caught, barely visible, but she saw it. He finally whispered, "I care about her more than I should." Isabella smiled sadly. "Then bring her home." Harper listened carefully to every sound outside her cell, memorizing voices, footsteps, patterns. She counted guard rotations. She tested the ropes binding her wrists. Nick had not tied her himself. The knots were sloppy. She might escape, or she might die trying. But she refused to be the reason Lorenzo surrendered. Minutes passed, hours maybe. Then, outside, chaos erupted, shouting, running, gunfire. Harper's breath caught. He came. The door slammed open so hard it hit the wall. Vincent Hale walked in, breathless, looking annoyed. Someone couldn't wait. Two guards pulled Harper's chair back violently. Vincent leaned close. Time for the final act. But before Harper could speak, another voice shouted from the hall, "Move!" An explosion rocked the far side of the building. Then gunfire followed, heavy, rapid, controlled. Harper's heart jumped. She knew that style, that precision, that fury. Lorenzo. Vincent smirked. Showtime. He stepped behind Harper and pressed a gun to her head. Harper gasped. "Stop fighting," Vincent whispered, "or this ends quickly." Harper squeezed her eyes shut. The walls shook. The lights flickered. Someone screamed outside. Someone else shouted Lorenzo's name. And then Lorenzo barreled into the doorway, gun raised, eyes burning like hellfire. He saw Harper tied to the chair. He saw Vincent's gun against her skull. And something inside him snapped so violently it showed in his voice. "Let her go." Vincent laughed. "There he is." Harper's heart raced. "Lorenzo, don't move," he said, eyes locked on hers. Vincent tightened his grip. "She comes with me. You walk away." Lorenzo stepped forward slowly. "I'm not walking away from her." Vincent's smile widened. "Then you die for her." And just as he pulled the trigger, Harper threw herself sideways with the chair, knocking Vincent's arm off aim. A gunshot exploded. Her scream tore through the room. Lorenzo lunged forward with a roar that shook the air. The world blurred. Pain hit her, hard, and everything went dark. Harper didn't feel the floor when she went down. The world spun, voices warped. Her body felt heavy, floating somewhere between pain and nothingness. She heard Lorenzo shout her name like it was the only word he had left in his chest. Then black. Just black. She woke to beeping, soft light, the scent of clean sheets. Harper blinked slowly as a blurry ceiling came into focus. She felt pressure on her hand. A warm, solid weight. When she turned her head, she found Lorenzo sitting in a chair beside her hospital bed. His elbows rested on the bed rail. His head was lowered like he had been praying, or falling apart. "Lorenzo." Her voice cracked. His head shot up. For a moment he just stared at her, eyes raw, jaw clenched so tight she saw the muscle jump. And then he exhaled with a sound halfway between relief and pain. "You're awake," he said. She managed a small smile. "Barely." He stood, leaned over her carefully, and pressed his forehead to her hand. His voice was rough. "You scared me." "I scared you? I got shot because I tried to save—" "I know." His voice shook. "I know. You tried to pull me away. You put yourself in front of a bullet. You would have done the same for me," she whispered. He lifted his head and looked at her, really looked at her, like he was trying to memorize her face in case it disappeared again. "I never should have let you go," he said. "I never should have doubted you. That file, Nick, the whole thing was an illusion and I fell for it." Harper swallowed. "Lorenzo, you were scared. You wanted to protect me. I understand that." "No," he said. "I hurt you. And I don't mean the kidnapping or the bullet. I hurt you long before that." She didn't deny it. He sat carefully on the edge of the bed. "Harper, listen to me. When I saw you on that chair, when I saw Vincent holding a gun to your head, something inside me broke. Something I can't fix. I can't lose you. Ever again. Not because of my world. Not because of my mistakes." Her eyes softened. "Lorenzo." He shook his head. "Let me talk. For once, let me say everything without holding back." She nodded. He reached for her hand gently, like she was made of glass. I lived my entire life thinking people fall into two categories: threats and people I protect. I never considered someone could be more. You were everything at once. You confused me. You made me hesitate. And hesitation in my world is deadly. So instead of trusting you, I pushed you away. She blinked back tears. That hurt, Lorenzo. I know. His hand tightened around hers. And I'll never forgive myself for it. She took a shaky breath. Then why did you? He lowered his gaze. Because I've never cared about anyone the way I care about you. And that terrified me. Her heart skipped. He lifted his eyes again. I'm done being scared. She swallowed the knot in her throat. So what happens now? Lorenzo brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. Now I fix what I broke. Harper stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Lorenzo was there every hour. He barely slept. Every time she opened her eyes, morning, afternoon, middle of the night, he was in that same chair, holding her hand, watching her breathe like he needed confirmation she was still alive. Doctors came and went. Isabella visited with warm blankets and soft socks. Marco brought coffee. Every person on Lorenzo's team looked at Harper with a mixture of awe and respect. Because she wasn't just the boss's girl anymore. She was the woman who threw herself in front of a gun to protect him. You saved his life, Isabella said one evening. He'll never love anyone the way he loves you. Harper's cheeks warmed. I didn't think. I just reacted. That's what love looks like, Isabella said softly. Harper didn't answer, but she knew Isabella was right. On the 4th morning, a nurse entered with a smile. Good news, you're ready to go home. Home? Harper echoed. Lorenzo stood so fast he knocked his chair back. She's cleared? The nurse nodded. She needs rest, but yes. Harper looked at him. And home means... He didn't blink. With me. Her breath caught. Lorenzo. I know, he said before she could protest. You want independence? You want choice. This time I'm not taking that from you. She stared at him. So, what are you asking? I'm asking where you want to go. She hesitated. Her apartment was miles away, small, lonely, unsafe. The life she had before Lorenzo felt like someone else's world. A world before danger, before chaos, before love. She looked at him. I want to go with you. The relief in his eyes was impossible to miss. The ride back to New York City was quiet. Not tense, just full of unspoken things. Lorenzo had her tucked against his side in the SUV, her head resting against his shoulder. His hand stayed on her thigh protectively, as if removing it would risk losing her again. The tower came into view, tall, powerful, intimidating. Harper tensed. The last time she was here, she had felt like she was living inside a cage. Lorenzo noticed. If this place brings you bad memories, we never have to stay here again. She looked up at him. I'm not afraid of the building. Then what are you afraid of? Being trapped, she admitted. He nodded slowly. Then I'll make you a promise. She held his gaze. No locked doors, no guards outside your room, no decisions made without you. Her chest warmed. Okay. And you tell me when you want space. If you want your own apartment, I'll buy you one tomorrow. If you want to live in Oregon again, I'll get you there in an hour. If you want to work away from me, I'll make it happen. Nothing changes unless you want it. Harper touched his hand. Lorenzo, I'm not asking for space. His breath caught. I'm asking for trust, she said softly, and for a life that makes sense for both of us. He leaned forward, pressed a slow kiss to her forehead and whispered, I'll give you everything you ask for. 2 weeks passed. Harper healed slowly. Lorenzo didn't push. He didn't demand. He simply existed beside her, quietly, devotedly, like a man who'd found something he never thought he deserved. He showed her the legitimate parts of his empire, the hotel operations, the charity foundation Isabella ran, the community centers he funded quietly. She learned that Lorenzo Conti wasn't just a mafia boss. He was a man trying to use power responsibly. Trying to close doors his father opened. Trying to do better, slowly, imperfectly, but honestly. And Harper fit into that new world. Not as a prisoner, not as a weakness, as a partner. One afternoon, Isabella walked into Harper's new office, a small corner space inside the tower, part of the hotel's marketing team. "You look happy," Isabella said. Harper smiled. "I am." "Good." Isabella leaned in. "Because my brother is a nightmare when you're not around." Harper laughed. "I'm aware." Isabella winked. "Office visit later. Wear something that will make his brain malfunction." Harper rolled her eyes. "Isabella, you're welcome." That night, when Harper returned to the penthouse, the lights were dim, soft, warm. "Lorenzo?" she called. "In here." She followed his voice to the rooftop terrace. The city stretched below them, lights shimmering in every direction. Lorenzo stood near the edge, hands in his pockets, wearing a black shirt open at the collar. Her heart skipped. "You wanted to see me?" she asked. "Yes," he said without turning. "Come here." She walked to him and stood beside him. The wind brushed her hair. He looked down at the city for a long moment before speaking. "I've been thinking about what you asked." She tilted her head. "What did I ask?" "You said you wanted trust." He turned to face her. "You also deserve choice, and freedom, and a life that isn't controlled by fear." She stepped closer. "Lorenzo." He took her hand gently. "Harper Evans, I want you in my life. Not because I need you, not because I want to protect you, but because you're the first person who's made me feel something real in this world." Her breath hitched. He continued. "You said you didn't want a cage. I don't want one either. So I'm asking you." He reached into his pocket. Harper's heart stopped. "To build something with me. A life, a future, a partnership." He opened a small velvet box. A ring. Simple, elegant, timeless. Harper covered her mouth with her hand. "Lorenzo, you don't have to say yes tonight," he said softly. "You don't owe me anything. You can take your time. You can wait. But I want you to know one thing, and I want to say it clearly so there's no misunderstanding." He stepped closer until their foreheads touched. "I love you," he whispered, "and I'm done pretending I don't." Harper's tears finally fell. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him close. "I love you too." He froze for a second as if he didn't believe it. Then he held her tightly, arms around her waist, face buried in her shoulder. After a long moment, she pulled back and looked at the ring again. "You said I can say yes tonight?" she asked. "Yes," he whispered. She smiled through her tears. "Then yes." Lorenzo exhaled a shaky breath, almost disbelieving, and kissed her, slow, deep, full of everything they survived. Below them, the city kept moving. But up here, on the rooftop, two people who never expected to find love in the middle of danger held each other like the world finally made sense. Harper touched his cheek. "One more thing," she said softly. "Anything. No more calling me a weakness." He smirked. "Never again." She smiled. "Good, because you're mine now." He pulled her closer. "Only yours." And with the city lights shining below and Lorenzo's hands around her waist, Harper realized something undeniably true. She wasn't living in a cage. She was living exactly where she chose to be. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.